Top of the day. It is August 9th, Saturday, 2025, and it's 10:16 a.m. I want to talk about when I was in the foster care system around 13, 14 years old. I stayed with Gloria Poole and Clarence Poole on First Avenue. How I met Gloria and Clarence is through Gloria's sister, Denise Carpenter, which I considered at that time my godmom. Um, yeah. So y'all wanna sit here and be doing all of this behind the scenes stuff. Gloria, you was well aware that your children, Tara Carpenter, Michael Carpenter, and Sean Clark, was fucking me while I resided underneath your roof. They started fucking me after y'all made me go get an abortion when I was pregnant by Raheem Jackson. So whatever agreements and shit like that y'all had made, like with my grandmother and my mother and all of them around that time when all of that was going on, that was some whack ass shit. Y'all made me become a murderer, and I didn't appreciate that. Then y'all went a step further to paint me to be something that I wasn't because I started rebelling. I didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't want to do anything because it was like the more I showed up and got good grades and went to school on time and all of those things, none of that shit really meant nothing. I was hurting inside and everybody else was just concerned about getting a fucking dollar. And then after the whole situation, when you and my grandmother decided behind the scenes to talk about what to do with me, y'all went to the DIFAS worker, Edith Barrera, or whoever was over my case at that time, because Edith Barrera has been a constant thorn in people's side forever, ever since I was a little kid, way before I was 14 years old. So all of these contracts that y'all signed with the government, all of these statements that y'all put on paper, your mother, Vernell Carpenter, she took it a step further because original Michael Dion Peoples had freaking came and asked about somebody, like, did I know anybody with a bank account? At that time, I just knew that Vernon had a bank account, so that's how that whole situation had went. And somehow I got fucking all mixed up in the middle of their bullshit. And then Vernell started coming after me. At that time, I was not even thinking about trying to do nothing to nobody. Now, Michael Dion Peoples, this motherfucker stole his mama's whole pocketbook and every fucking thing. And this was a little bit after this situation with Vernell and Denise and all of them and Gloria and their family. And then I remember Original's fucking mom, Michael Peoples, called my grandmother's house and told my grandmother that her meat and stuff out of her deep freezer or wherever the hell it was at was missing and her pocketbook and some other shit was gone. And she asked me, was I with her son? And I'm like, no. At the time, he was over in, I think it was Ocean Grove or some shit like that. He was put up in a room over there or whatever. So I had told her where he was at. I didn't know that he had did all of this shit, but had his family thinking that I was a part of whatever the fuck he had going on. So after Miss Octavia had called my grandmother, which is Original's mom, Michael's mother, and said what she said to her, when I got to my grandma's house, my grandma asked me, and I'm like, hell no. So I called back to Miss Octavia so I could talk to her personally because I didn't appreciate being lied on like that. Now, Michael broke up with me when I was pregnant with my Joy because he started fucking with Almenta, which was Jay's fucking wife. I found that out all after the fact, after I had fucking started, just going to dip off and, chill with him. I found out that Almenta was his wife and all of this other crazy shit. So, slowly but surely, I started backing off of every fucking body. Then I disappeared. And that's when fucking Mark Scott, my children's father, he took me to fucking Camden in 2009 as soon as I got out of jail. That was in September of 2009, I believe, that he took me to Camden. But initially, we went to his Uncle Wallace's house. And Uncle Wallace didn't even know I was coming. But this lying motherfucker said that, yeah, him and his Aunt Jean, which is her name is Charlotte Derrico, said that it was okay for me to go to the house with him. Well, Uncle Wallace see me sleeping one morning, and he called to his wife because she stayed down in Virginia or whatever, and she told him that Mark had somebody in the house. I heard the whole chew out factor. She told him that nobody is supposed to be in that house, and she cursed him out or whatever. So we got up the next day, and he's telling me that he's going to take me somewhere where I can go and get into treatment. That was the original reason why I even left Asbury Park with him in the first fucking place, because prior to that, I didn't have nowhere to stay. So what the hell is this man's name? Aaron Sterling. I had met him in the course of copping or whatever, and he knew this guy that lived in the Sebastian Village or whatever, and he called him Pops or whatever, and we would go over there, and Pops, he all old and shit, but this nigga getting high or whatever. I don't know what Aaron was into, but Aaron was like all fucking obsessed and infatuated with me, thought that I was his girlfriend, tried to tell me what to do and all this other shit. Well, Aaron met Kalima, which is fucking a part of my Pop-Pop's family. Her mother, Aura, was running the crack house that I was buying my crack from, and I was buying it from Kalima or anybody that Aura had in the house at that time. And at the time, what the hell is his name? Tall Tone used to be over there, and a fucking couple of other motherfuckers that I used to go buy my crack from or whatever. So, like, for everybody to be sitting here talking about all of this shit and what I did and what I didn't do, and how y'all be trying to fucking come up with all of this other shit, first and foremost, I don't have no problem with talking about shit that I've experienced in my past at all. So for all of y'all grouping together so that y'all could steal and all this other shit, I don't know where the hell that came from, but y'all whack as fuck. Second thing that I want to address is, I remember at one point in time, my brother Mashawn had hit me up. I think it was Shark River Park or some shit that he was at. He had ran into Krista and Original and all of them at the park at that time. How I know that he was at the park, because he sent me a picture with my daughter, My Joy. So I was like, oh shit, where you seeing My Joy at? Da, 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 da. So he's telling me that, he had ran into Krista and them. They was at a family function or whatever at the Shark River Park or whatever, whatever. My brother tells me that he had asked Krista, could he take her to Great Adventures so that he can celebrate with her for her birthday or whatever. And Krista said no. Now I got upset because I'm like, wait, that's my brother. Like, the original agreement when Krista got guardianship of My Joy was that once I got myself together, like, she didn't have no problem with giving my child back to me and her, or her, me and her brother or whatever. But because he and I weren't together, I don't know what the hell happened in the course of that, but I do know that when she originally was taken away, she was taken from my grandmother's house because my grandmother kept having health issues and she had passed out. So, and prior to my grandmother passing out, original used to show up to my grandmother's house, like acting childish as hell. Like, he was like 5 years old. Like, he was really just like, he came over to my grandmother's house, like, he ran shit, and, just because he just popped up, that she was supposed to just let him come in. And my grandmother told him, like, yeah, I don't have any problem with you coming to see your daughter, but you're going to respect my house, and you're not going to just come over here talking to me crazy and thinking that you can just get easy access to my home. I don't know what story Original went back to his home and spent to his family, but a little while after that, like, my daughter, oh no, I was staying the night over there from time to time just to be able to wake up with my daughter or whatever. I don't know how the hell they found out that I was being able to go over there to see my daughter, at nighttime or whatever, because everybody was acting like I was the fucking plague, like I was like I was the worst person in the fucking world. So I don't know how they found out that I was at my grandma's house, but they had came out to my grandmother's house and told her, like, yeah, we're hearing that she's, staying overnight, sometimes over here at your house. If you're going to have My Joy, you can't have her, staying, consistently in the home with the child. So at that time, like, while all of this shit was going on, like, I had left from the house, but then soon after, my grandmother passed out, and then that's when the custody thing had switched to where my grandmother no longer had, the kinship. It was switched over to to Octavia and Krista and them, or whatever. I'm not mad about any of that stuff, because at that time I wasn't in a position to take care of myself or her for that matter, and the more and more that I tried to do right, like I got kicked out of the freaking recovery program that I was sent to because I was fraternizing. I was there for the right reason, but got with the wrong mental thinking about, trying to talk to somebody and all this other stuff. Got busted trying to fraternize with someone there and got kicked out of the program. Got out the program, was going to the NA meetings and things like that, like, with my mother. And, it was just like mad, like pressures and shit like that was on me. And it was just like overbearing and overwhelming, especially due to the fact that like in 2007 my pops had passed away. Well, the guy that I know, Brian Morris, he had died January 23rd type shit. But I do remember that I had went to go see my dad like the 1st of January to go, just hang out with him and shit like that. Because at that time, I was having actual dreams that this man was dead. Like, I was at his funeral in my dream. And the crazy shit is, after, like, when his funeral had came up, his funeral had played out exactly the way I was seeing it in my head. What made me start drugs in the first place is due to that dream. And at that time, I was staying at Kirsten's house in Nevada Gardens because Renee and her girlfriend Selena, they was living across town, I think like 3rd, 4th Avenue or something like that. And they had left Kirsten the house. And all this shit was going on at that time. So I was allowed to stay over there with Kirsten. It was around Thanksgiving time. Kirsten and Talia, which is her cousin, Talia Glisson, they in the kitchen, cooking and preparing, Thanksgiving dinner and shit like that. And I was in the back bedroom sleep, but I could not fucking sleep because every night consistently, it was like every night I was having the same dream. So finally I had said something to them. I had went in the living room and they was looking at me like, what's wrong? And I was like, I cannot sleep. And I told them about the dream and how I was scared to go back to sleep because the man was still fucking breathing. He was still living and breathing, but I'm at his whole funeral, like over his casket. It was just wild. So anywho, after I tell them my dream and telling them like I didn't want to go to sleep. Now Kirsten and Talia was normal cocaine sniffers. And I was just like the marijuana smoker and I would have drinks from time to time. Well, they in there sniffing while they cooking or whatever, and they came over with a matchbook with the little dollar bill. It was a whole bunch of coke on there, and they talked me through what I would experience, the taste in the back of my throat, how it would feel funny going in my nose, and how the drip would go back in the back of my throat, and this and that and this and that. So I was scared, but they had like put like a big ass shovel of it on the fucking matchbook, and I'm like, wait a minute, like I need to y'all Herbert Hoovering around this motherfucker. I'm an amateur around this master. Matter of fact, I'm a novice. I ain't even no amateur because this shit right here, this wasn't something that I didn't, ever think to indulge in because I seen how it had fucked my parents up. But then in that very moment, boom, there I was right there, sniffing my first match hevel. I don't fucking know how to even fucking categorize this shit of cocaine. At first, I really didn't have like no type of feeling. I didn't even know what to expect. But then I noticed that like I had a burst of energy, and then I'll